Mark Skaar on the Skaar Kaard on 103.7 The Fox. Proud to welcome in Mr. Rob Lamothe from Riverdogs and the new band Cross Country Driver. Rob, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I am so good, Mark, and I'm so happy to talk to you. I'm in Baja, Mexico, so I'm on the Gulf of Mexico side. But yeah, I'm just happy to talk to you today. I love your perspective on music, and I'm interested in the conversation.
So Cross Country Driver, the debut album, just dropped. It's called The New Truth. Let's talk about that first of all. The name of the album. Tell me about it. Where did it derive from?
It comes from two places as I think about it right now. It comes from like truths in family stories and family secrets. A bit of a concept to this album, kind of the my family's stories that I've kind of heard over the years and how sometimes those stories have changed over the years. But it's also about, this was written during the pandemic, and certainly online I saw a lot of people struggling with what is the truth, what's fake news, where does doing your research get you, So it's kind of those two things creating kind of one theme for the album. It was kind of the perfect title, we thought. James and I thought, that's it. We nailed it.
Yeah, that's deep.
Well, this is unprecedented times. So many people called it that, and it's really true. So it was interesting to be writing a record while the world was really changing. So just there, as I said a million times over the last 3 years, these are interesting times. And as a songwriter, I have to say it was, super inspiring.
Talking with Rob Lamothe about Cross Country Driver and The New Truth, the new record. Of course, you had the pleasure of working with your son and James Harper. Tell me about those guys.
James kind of reached out to me out of the blue. I didn't know him. And, this was just before the pandemic hit, and he was just kind of a guy out of the blue saying, hey, do you want to write a couple songs? And I was like, I don't normally respond to just a stranger inviting me to write some songs. But we ended up having this great conversation, and we talked about the bands that we loved and the bands from when we were younger, and then the bands that were influenced by those bands. So we talked about the 70s, we talked about Free and Allman Brothers, and then some of the harder stuff like Deep Purple. We talked about James Taylor and Joni Mitchell. And then we talked about bands like Badlands and Archangels, and we talked about King's X. That was kind of our starting point, right? It was like, well, we do have some really common interests as far as music and the stuff that we love and the stuff that's, been life-changing for us. And that's how that started. And, of course, Xander is my son, and he's one of my very favorite musicians, my favorite drummer. My secret weapon for songwriting, whether it's Riverdogs songs or my own songs or Cross Country Driver. When I brought him in to kind of help me arrange some of the songs, Cross Country Driver album, The New Truth, it got heavier. We just went that direction. Xander's quite comfortable keeping something light and airy and atmospheric, but he kind of naturally went heavier on us. And then we just went with that, and then I would send James, hey, Xander and I we've been working on this, and sent a lot of stuff back and forth because we were collaborating remotely. So those are my guys on this. That's the core band, the three of us.
Talking with Rob Lamothe, and you mentioned bands like Badlands. Of course, Greg Chason is somebody that you've known and worked with in the past. You sang on The River, the non-Badlands version of The River, on his record, and so you guys go back probably 30 years, I'm guessing?
Yeah, we go way back. I used to go see Badlands play. I remember seeing them at I think it was Irvine Meadows in L.A., I saw them in some clubs anytime I could. I think their record came out in '89, if I remember right, that first Badlands record. And it blew my mind. Like, I was like, as a kid that grew up on Zeppelin and Deep Purple, I was like, this is next level, Ray's voice, to me, he's in my top 3 rock singers ever. And then Jake's guitar, unbelievable. That guy is a master of, like, frickin' swamp blues, hard rock. And then the rhythm section, Greg, and at the time it was, now I'm blanking on his name.
Eric Singer.
On the first record it was, you're right, it was Eric Singer.
And then Jeff Martin.
Yeah, and then Jeff. I was trying to remember Jeff's name, but yeah, he was. But, so the rhythm section of Doom and Greg Chason was just, like, unapologetically, like, simple, deceptively simple, though. Like, the bass playing sounded so simple, but if you listen to the melodies he plays and the timing and where he's behind the beat and where he's pushing the beat. Again, just like an absolute master of the bass. So I've always had a mad respect for Greg. He's an incredible musician.
So he's on the record, as is one of our favorite people, Doug Pinnick.
Yeah, that was the thing. When we started, when we weren't starting out to make a record, we were just starting to write a couple songs. And then it turned into, we're going to record a couple songs. And then it turned into, hey, we're heading into, we could make an album, And I was going to play some bass, maybe James was going to play some bass. But then as we started finishing song 1, which is a song called Real Love, then it was like, who do we want to get on bass? We got something special here. Let's get somebody special. So from there, from the first song, we started thinking, who would be the bass player for this song? Which is how we ended up asking Greg to play in some songs, asking Doug to play in some songs, asking Rhonda Smith from Jeff Beck's band to play. And I have to acknowledge the fact that everyone we asked said yes. And we didn't have any kind of budget. We had no label. We had no management. We didn't know if we were going to maybe just sell it online ourselves. And nobody asked us, how are you going to sell this thing? Right? It was just we dig the music. So Mike Mangini said yes, and the bass player said yes. And, and if we wanted some keyboards, James knew this amazing dude, Jimmy Wallace from Nashville, from the Wallflowers. He just added perfect, whether it was harpsichord or organ or electric piano. And, everyone said yes, and which then gave us, we really had real creative freedom making this record. It was who do we want to get on this? And then everyone was in. It was incredible.
Talking to Rob Lamothe from Cross Country Driver about the Nude Truth, and your Riverdogs bandmate, somebody we all know, Vivian Campbell, contributed parts to Risen.
Yeah, well, we thought, the guy needs some help. He's not doing much. Probably give him a break. Let's throw him a bone. Well, actually, Vivian and I were going to get together before the pandemic. Vivian and I were planning, I was going to go stay at his house, and we were going to write and record together with no goal, but just to write and record. And then literally the pandemic hit. We were like, well, we're not going to travel right now. And so then, of course, so many of the songs have a lot of meaning for me, but Risen is a special one for me. And, I just thought I want somebody to sing with me, to harmonize with me. And then I thought of Vivian's voice. And then, of course, it was it'd be insane not to ask him to play some guitar as well. So we sent it to him, and, I asked him, and he said yes, of course. And I just love so much, what he did on there. I just love it.
I'd be remiss, Rob, if we didn't talk about your voice and your vibrato and how calming and soothing it is to me. And I'm running out of superlatives, but I just, you're one of the best rock vocalists out there. I just want you to know that.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that so much. I really do. And I don't even know how that happened. I'm fortunate. My dad had a beautiful, beautiful voice, and I inherited whatever physiology he had. And my son Xander and my daughter Rose and my son Josh, all of them have great voices, and I've taken care of myself so I can still sing. I haven't always taken care of myself, by the way, but I have been, and so I appreciate you saying that, and I can still sound sweet and vulnerable, and I can still give a rock scream if I feel like it, so I'm very fortunate.
Sounds like you've got a rock gene or a vocal gene that was passed down, perhaps.
Very much so. And I remember when I was in third grade at All Hallows Academy in La Jolla, California. And by the way, I'm down here in Mexico with 3 of my friends from high school from La Jolla High. We're all down here in Baja. But when I was in third grade, Sister Maureen, we were singing some songs, and she said, "Oh, you have a voice. You should, I want to introduce you to the choir director at the church," which was just up the hill from the school. And then, within a year or so, I was the little 9-year-old soloist in the choir. I was singing in Latin with trumpets behind me and timpanis. And, I didn't know what I was doing, but I could sing. So it's been, my whole life is based around singing. It's taken me everywhere. It's taken me all over the world. It's like, what a fortunate bastard I am. Really. So fortunate, so blessed.
Rob, people might not know this, but you actually worked with the late Robin Crosby in a pre-Rat band.
Yeah, so Robin Crosby was like the rock star at my high school, and I wasn't a singer in a band. I was a little long-haired dude, surfer dude with an acoustic guitar. And my girlfriend in high school, who I'm with down in Mexico right now, I'm at her house. She knew Robin, and he was looking for a singer for his new band. And she said, well, you should check out my boyfriend, Rob. He's got a beautiful voice. And I'd never sung in a rock band or anything like that, and I had no aspirations to. And he came up to me at the beach one day, and he said, hey, man, I was in awe because he was a rock star in my town, you know. And he said, hey, I'm starting a new band. You want to try out for it? I heard you're a singer. And I was like, I'm not a singer, I don't think, but I'll try. I didn't think I was a rock singer. And, yeah, I auditioned, I got the gig, and a couple of days later we were playing in front of 500 people in a backyard party in La Jolla. And I just stood there shaking with my eyes closed, you know, for an hour and sang a bunch of UFO and a bunch of Robin Trower, that kind of stuff. So we might have done some early Van Halen, but maybe not. That might have been just before the Van Halen 1 album. But, yeah, that's how I know Robin. And then we played together in a couple different bands. And then, you know, went our separate ways. And he ended up joining Rat, which was based on a band in San Diego called Mickey Rat.
Ah, yes, that's right. And a couple of those songs wound up on Rat Records.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So we wrote these songs together in a band, Robin and myself and a killer guitar player, a musician named Ronnie Jones from San Diego. And when I heard that two of the songs that we wrote together, I'm Insane and King of the Crime, were going to be on the first Rat album, I was so proud. And I remember 1984, so 4 years after we wrote them, I rode my bike down to the local record store in Pacific Beach, California, and I was so excited to see my name on a real album. And then when I looked at it, my name wasn't on there.
No!
I was like, what? Yeah, so, you know, it's just one of those things. Those were crazy days for everyone, and to be honest, we ended up suing Rat and Atlantic Records and Marshall Thurl, their management and all that, and they ended up settling out of court. But I admire that band. I admire Stephen Piercy and Warren DeMartini and Juan. They've all sustained, you know, long, amazing careers, and my hat's off to them. And I certainly don't hold any negative feelings towards anybody in that band at all. So, you know, we got through it. It's good.
Fair enough. Rob, thank you. We appreciate your time.
Mark, I really enjoyed the conversation. These are some great questions. You made me think a little bit about the title of the album, The New Truth. So I appreciate that. I hadn't really reviewed that since we kind of came up with it in a spontaneous moment. So thank you for that. And, yeah, I hope you have a great day, and I'll look forward to the next time we chat.
Well, that's Rob Lamothe from Riverdogs and Cross Country Driver. Frontiers has just released The New Truth, the debut album from Cross Country Driver. We're going to continue to play it here on the Skaar Kaard. A big thanks to Rob Lamothe for being on with us today. This is Mark Skaar with the Skaar Kaard on 103.7 The Fox.